Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello, welcome to the Persistence Payoff Show. We're here on USA Global TV and Radio. I'm your host, Kimberly Schafer. I'm the inventor of the Ring Thing, which is a waterproof patented ring holder. And I am really enjoying this journey as a first-time inventor and entrepreneur. It has been a great lesson in persistence, and I'm loving every minute of it. This show is focused on persistence and the quality of it, and looking at it not just from a theoretical perspective, but from talking with people who personify it and have lived their own persistence journeys. Because I think that we all reach these points in life where we're at a decision tree where we can decide to persist in pursuit of our visions, or we can give up. And it's so helpful to talk to people who've made that decision to persist and to learn about their whys and hows. And that brings me to our guest today, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm just thrilled to have her on with us today. Dr. Jacalyn is the founder and president of USA Global TV and Radio. She's also well known as the listening mentor, and she has published and authored multiple #1 best-selling books on the topic of elevated listening. She's a certified life and career coach and has mentored many people. She's also an athlete, and she's a certified instructor in TRX, spinning, yoga, and she's an avid fitness practitioner herself. And to fully round out her life, which is so inspiring, she's also an artist. She's a singer and songwriter. So I'm really looking forward to talking with her today, and please help me welcome Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck.
Well, hello.
Hello, thank you so much for being here. I'm delighted to have you on the show today.
Thank you. It's my honor. And I mentioned to you backstage, I don't get interviewed very much because I always say no. But when you reached out, I thought, let me say yes. I like to be a yes person.
Oh, I'm so happy you did. Thank you. And I also feel like the timing worked out really well because USA Global TV and Radio just got a significant award from YouTube. And I'm wondering if you could start by just telling us about that award and what it means to you personally, as well as to the network.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I feel weird spotlighting myself, but here I go. I'm producing the show too. This is the award. It's the Silver Creator Award from YouTube, and it's for crossing over 100,000 subscribers. I'm actually going to have it framed. And it's quite an honor because the journey behind this is very complicated. YouTube as a platform is run by algorithms, and the algorithms change constantly. And as much as I like to say I understand it and I can master it, I cannot. So therefore, we have a team of people who actually work on the search engine optimization. And long story short, we had copyright violations. You know, if somebody plays music on the channel, or they actually go to YouTube and they play something from YouTube, it can be flagged by YouTube because even though it's in the public domain, it's not owned by us. So for example, if someone started sharing our shows, they could potentially be flagged because of the fact that they don't own it. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, yes. And it must be so satisfying to you personally as the founder of the network to be at this point. And I would love to hear just what were the beginnings of USA Global TV and Radio? What was your initial vision when you started it?
Thank you for that question. It started actually as rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. And I had a radio show out of New York, and I had a television show at an in-person television station in New Jersey, rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. And yesterday on one of our programs, our team member, Mariska Dupree in Australia, she was my life coach for a number of years. And she actually worked with me to come up with a plan to leave my corporate job in 2020. And I was taking care of my mother at that time, and then until she passed away. And so I was in the house a lot because she had dementia and I was afraid she might walk off. So I had to find something that I could do since I'd retired. And I thought, wow, I'll start doing additional TV shows on social media only. And then more and more people started contacting me saying, could they be on the show? Could they host the show? In the beginning, I was doing all the shows myself and I had co-hosts. And then it just started to be an evolution. In 2021, I believe we started with USA Global TV and Radio. And since then, it's just grown tremendously with people from all over the world. So it actually came through adversity, which was taking care of my mom, which is not adversity to me, but I had to find something to do so that I could take care of her, which was my greatest honor to take care of her.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how wonderful and honorable of you to do that. I mean, it's not an easy role to be in, but also a really meaningful one. So really admire you for that. And especially right during COVID as well. So it wasn't just one thing or the other. There was some compounding there.
True,
so how was it to make that shift? So you mentioned that you were in an in-person studio for the in-person TV shows, and then you shifted to online. How was that transition? And do you find it different to interview and produce shows online versus in studio?
When I was at the in-person television station, the person who owned it said to me, you know, as good of a host as you are, you're a great interviewer, you would be even better behind the camera. And I really had no experience. I had no experience interviewing except being in sales, being in corporate and interviewing people as part of the sales process. So I remembered what he said. And eventually I left him because he was not interested in having me do television and radio at a different platform. And I have a different philosophy about that. But I decided to leave. And it ended up that being in person at the television station was terrific because I met so many wonderful people. Al Cini, who's on our team, Joe Asamende, and Ashley Owens. I could go on and on. Ralph Graves Jr., so many amazing people. But I like doing this better. And the reason is because I am in my home studio and I get to meet people from all over the world. And that is amazing if you think about it, that you're in California, I'm here in New Jersey. Yesterday, my team member was from Australia. And you can form these relationships that are really true and powerful relationships.
Yeah, it's really true. It's absolutely true. And I think that we've all gotten so used to doing things online now because of COVID that it doesn't feel really that different to watch a show that's online versus something that's filmed in the studio. And so if I've got the timeline right, then you really started and launched in 2021. And so in 4 years, you've gotten to 100,000 viewers, which is pretty amazing. That's
just on one channel. That's just because we, like right now, we're streaming to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different platforms right now. Wow. So the USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube is one of those.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, very inspiring. And thinking about persistence. So you had your vision and you needed to persist to get it launched. And I'd love to hear about that. And also, have you had challenges along the way that you've had to persist through to continue to get to this point?
Absolutely. So two that come to mind right away. One, I'm going to have to tone it down. I know that you would understand it because we've talked before about Crohn's colitis and the foundation, et cetera. So what I'll share with you was during the pandemic, I became very ill. And I still had to broadcast because I was doing all the shows at the time. And so I was not myself. And therefore I was debilitated, so to speak. And I'm not going to go into what the solution was, but I had to come up with a solution of how I could stand and still be broadcasting. And I did. And I was in tremendous pain. I have a chair in front of me right now. I'm always standing, but I would grip onto the chair so tightly because I thought I'm going to pass out from the pain. It is absolutely agonizing pain. So that was one thing I had to deal with. And then the other thing was I ended up interviewing a couple of people who reached out to me and wanted to be partners. And I'm not going to mention their names. And we became partners, and I learned a number of things from them about branding and about building a brand, about consistency with branding. And things happened and they didn't deliver on a lot of the things that they said that they would. And I spent a tremendous amount of money. And so we had to end that partnership. And it was right before we were launching our new website. So every year, I think it's January 15th, we have a reunion show. We have some kind of anniversary celebration. And it was right before the brand new website, which wasn't finished. And I had to hire someone else to finish it because they didn't finish it. So yes, there's definitely been challenges along the way. But one thing I learned from those partners is always look for the solution. Keep the emotion at bay and find the solution.
That is really powerful. You just gave me some goosebumps there listening to that, because I can just say from my own experience, it's very easy to get caught up in the emotion of things of, it's not going right. This isn't what I wanted, or whatever it might be. And so I think it's a very powerful mantra, really. So as you push through both the physical challenges and also the professional challenges of working with the partners, and I'm sure there were other glitches along the way that you had to push through. Where do you think that resilience came from within you?
It came from my parents. Absolutely. And not being a parent myself, I can't say what I would or wouldn't do as a parent, but my father especially, he had a difficult time in his upbringing. And he really believed that the only way through was persistence. And we had this conversation, and I put this in one of my books, but my dad and I were talking about something, and he said, look out the window. And we were in our house in Pennsylvania, and I looked out the window and he goes, what do you see out there? And I said, oh, I see this and I see that. And he said, you see a tree, right? And I said, I see a tree. And he said, do you see any money growing from the tree? And I said, no, I don't. He said, that's because you can only rely on yourself. You cannot rely on your mother. You cannot rely on me. We will do the best that we can, but you have to find what it takes to succeed. And he had, with his brother, he had 2 new car dealerships, and one of them was located in a very bad neighborhood. And so after I graduated from college and my first job, I went to work for him because the thought was that the kids would take over the business one day. And it was a dangerous neighborhood. It's still dangerous. I think it's getting better, but we had to work 6 days a week, including Fridays. It was 9 to 9 and then 9 to 6. And it was tough. And he said, it's on you, how you show up every day. And so I give him credit for that. And my mother was very tenacious. She was definitely an athlete. She played competitive tennis until she was 80 on the Delray Beach tennis team. And she did everything. She'd be on the roof fixing things. She'd be like, things that you would hire people for. No, she's doing them. And so she took care of my father. He had health issues, and she was very loyal and dedicated. And so that's what I saw growing up. And that's what I learned, that it's on you to make your own way.
Wow. It's so interesting how those lessons live out. I mean, you are living all of that, and I think of you as persistence personified, when we talk about these things. And, you are very physically active. I mean, you are a certified instructor in several areas, and you also work out regularly yourself. I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes I find it's challenging to find time for self-care in the middle of being an entrepreneur, because you always think, oh, I can get these other 3 things done instead of that. But how do you prioritize your own self-care and your fitness? And what does that mean to you?
I prioritize my fitness as number one. It comes ahead of everything because if I'm not fit, I'm not in shape, I have health issues, then I'm not going to be any good for anyone. So I, at a detriment to myself, will work out 2 or 3 hours every day. Today's going to be 3 hours. And when I say work out, I'm not saying anything about this because there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not going into the gym and I'm doing my own thing. I'm taking classes with people who are in their 20s and 30s. And I am pushing myself every single time. In fact, today I took this class. I'm not going to say what it was, but I go almost every day. I have over 1,000 classes. And you can do something that will make the exercise a little bit easier, or you can do something that will make it a little bit harder. So every time I'm amplifying, they call them amplifications. And so the coach came over, and I never met her before. And she said, and I had my arms on this bench, and they were at number 3 or 4. And she came over and she said, move your arms back to number 1. And I said to her, why would I do that? That's easier. And she looked at me. I said, I have over 1,000 classes. I'm not looking for easy. And she started to laugh. So and I said at a detriment because I believe when I got sick in February, I had just finished 3 classes in a row. So I went to a weightlifting class, which also is cardio. Then I went to a spin class, and then I went to the solid core that I go to all the time. And I really felt sick afterwards because I've been doing 2 or 3 classes every single day. So now I listen to my body and I'll say maybe 2 is where you should stop. But the old watch tells me no, because I don't have enough minutes in and I don't have enough move minutes. So it's not enough time and not enough movement.
Wow. Well, I mean, 1 class a day is laudable, but taking 2 a day is incredible, much less 3. So, but I think, it's a great lesson in prioritizing ourselves, and that does pay off in our productivity in the other areas of our life. So I think that's a great lesson. And I'm curious to know, you are known as the listening mentor, and you're the listening coach for USA Global TV and Radio. And I'm curious to know how those things merge. Like, were you involved with the listening before, with elevated listening before USA Global TV and Radio, or did that sort of emerge at the same time?
The people that I had as partners, one of them said I was an excellent listener. And she actually came up with the listening mentor. And prior to this, I can think of so many times in my life, people would tell me their deepest, darkest secrets. And they knew that I was never going to repeat it. And I would be in a room full of people and somebody comes over and they're telling me something. And later somebody would say, what was Susan talking to you about? She never talks to anyone. She's always in the corner. And I'd say, I don't know. I can't share. So I prided myself on being a good listener because I felt like I haven't been listened to. So that has to do with having ulcerative colitis for now, I think it's 34 years. And people would tell me it's in your mind. You need to do a holistic approach. People are always telling me what I need to do, what I should do, instead of listening to how I really feel and being a friend. I'm not saying everyone, but I heard that a lot. And also in corporate, I felt unheard as well. I worked with a lot of men, and at that boardroom table, the same people would want to share their stories. And I'm always interested in hearing what people have to say and learning. And then typically my superior, my manager would say, let's hear what Jacalyn has to say. So I've been listening for most of my life, and now using it as a brand to help people learn how to listen. And it's as a result of this platform, really.
Yeah. Oh, I love it when things meld together like that. It's not, you're so multifaceted and talented, but they're not siloed. They all work together and blend together and make you stronger, and make the rest of us stronger from learning from you.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, as you are producing shows and you are mentoring other people, is it challenging for you to let people make some of their own mistakes? And, do you want to jump in sometimes to the hosts and say, no, don't do that? Or, how do you navigate that line?
Well, What I do initially is when someone is interested in joining our team, I have a meeting with them and they have to be coachable. Okay, I'm coachable, you're coachable. If someone is not coachable, for example, we send out surveys to people after they're a guest. And if they put on there that they are open to feedback from me, coachable. If they're not that I'm going to give them any feedback, but if they were to reach out, I would give them the feedback. But if people put on there not interested, that is not a coachable person. So a coachable person can be on this team. And so when I bring someone on, I tell them, you will have to become an elevated listener, meaning you have to take my course. And every year, I mean, I'm only requiring one course a year. And the course is maybe 2 hours. And part of that is to set the team member up to succeed so that they are not droning on and on when you have a guest and the guest. Here's a typical example. So let's say you're interviewing me like you are, and I say something, and then you come back with a very long story that has nothing to do with me. And people do it all the time because it's just natural. So that's the first thing that I bring to people's attention. And then the next thing is I'll say to them, when someone is sharing something personal, please acknowledge what they said. We had a show where someone just got some test results and the host didn't even mention it. The person was talking about, today I found out this, and I'm backstage thinking, and I'm in the chat, please acknowledge, say something, because we're all humans. Yes. So the whole point being is I want to give people the tools for success. And if something does happen afterwards, I'll say, are you open to coaching? And if they say yes, you're open to feedbacking, I'll say, by the way, today you said these words over and over again. I don't know if you're aware of it. And then they thought about it. You're right. I did say that over and over again, but I only want to do it in a loving way to help make them even better than they are.
Yeah. Well, that is such a skill. That's such a skill to be able to do that. And I think, and you master it really well. And how many, so I believe that there's 58 shows or just over 60 shows now on the network. Is that?
Yes, there are actually 60. And what's interesting is of those 60, some are in the archive. So there are people who did shows maybe for a year or 2 years. And not everyone wants to do this all the time. So we have people who've been doing it since the very beginning, like Red O'Loughlin. He's been here since day one. He's done hundreds and hundreds of episodes. We have Roland Friedel, Caroline Hewitt. I could go on and on. And what happens is, and I'm not speaking for them, but it becomes part of their life. So it's like you couldn't imagine not doing it because it brings you some kind of satisfaction or value or confidence or credibility. And then there are other people who start doing it and then they realize that they're just not into it. It's not them. They don't like being behind the camera. They can't get the guests. So those are shows that, people were here and it contributed huge amounts of world-class content, and they're not here now. They decided, hey, I'm going to do something else. And then we have people who come back, which is great. And then we have people that this is a part of what their daily life looks like.
Yeah, that makes sense. And and there's such a breadth of topics. It's very, very broad, which is great. I feel like there's something for everybody on the network.
Absolutely. We're looking for a cooking show. We did have a cooking show, and our two chefs, Ricky McKenna and Simon McDonald. Ricky is doing her own thing now, I think, and Simon is doing another show with us. So he's a celebrity chef. So we also have shows that are pre-recorded and produced by other people, and then we distribute them. And we also have distributors who distribute our content. So it's sort of like that domino effect that you get on as many platforms as you can. So right now we're live streaming to Amazon Fire. And then tomorrow, this show will be distributed to E360 TV and Zizzle TV, where they have over 300 platforms that they distribute. Each one of them has over 300. We were on Roku, and the channel was hijacked twice, and I had to pay to get it back. And with Roku, this is my experience, but you have to hire someone, you send the content to them, and then they have to upload it. So they took ownership of the content, and we couldn't get it back. So that happened twice. And I said, that's it. No, if it can't be something that's seamless, that I know who the person is on the other side of the computer, then we don't want to do it. Like Amazon Fire obviously is a huge platform, and we could turn the TV on right now and see it on there.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, and another lesson with the Roku, where I'm thinking about the advice that you got from your parents to like not get emotional about it, but look for the solution, which was, I don't want to work with them anymore, and go on and find someone else. And
it's very true. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just wondering, like, so you've reached 100,000 followers. What's
subscribers?
The next goal? Subscribers. Okay.
Every platform has a different name. On YouTube, it's subscribers. On Facebook, it's followers. We actually have 16,000 followers on one Facebook page, 13,000 on another. Like every page has a different number.
Yeah. Do you have a next goal in mind for number of subscribers?
We're going for 1 million. So I already spoke to our team lead, Amron Hosen, for search engine optimization. And I just said, how long will it take to get to 1 million? And he said it's going to take a few years. So I estimate it'll probably take 4 or 5 years. And then for our other YouTube channel, we have USA Global TV and Radio, and we also have Dr. Jacalyn. So just for people who don't know this, I'm going to put this up on the screen because you may see this and wonder what it is that I'm talking about. So this, you see here in the corner on the left, the logo for USA Global TV and Radio, and you see the little YouTube, the little red play button underneath it. That is our USA Global TV and Radio YouTube channel. We're streaming there live right now. We also have Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. You can see my picture and the little red play button. That's the YouTube channel that we're streaming to right now. That's the second YouTube channel. So we actually now are monetizing both channels. And we are also working on 100,000 subscribers for this channel. When I last checked today, we were at 26,700. And just a quick story, I had someone working for me on search engine optimization, and they hijacked both of the channels, and they started manually deleting things on there, and all content was missing. And so I called the person out on it, and then they blocked me on LinkedIn. And then they created a new account on LinkedIn and listed their primary job as working for USA Global TV and Radio. And when I sent them a message, because we're not connected on this new platform, on the person's new account, the person has never answered me. So I had to block the person and delete them from the YouTube channels. I mean, it just doesn't end. So the answer again is, what is the solution? How are we going to address this?
Yes. Well, and again, thinking about the challenges that you face, that's a really big challenge of, someone you trusted who betrayed you. That's really big. And
another, just a quick story, because I think this, I don't know if this shows persistence or being psychotic, I'm not sure. But on the day in August of 2023, when my mother ultimately died, it was a Thursday. And Thursdays and Mondays are our busiest days. And the other days, we have a lot of pre-recorded shows that are set up in advance and go out. We also have shows on the weekend. But anyway, it was a Thursday, and we had been told that this was probably my mother's last day. So I was working all day and had a camera. Actually, my phone had the camera app on it, and I could see my mother. So I was upstairs in the TV studio loft, and my sister was downstairs, and my mother was in the middle. And so I just had this feeling during this one show that she was going to pass away. And so I mentioned to the two people doing the show, the host and the guest, to please stay on time, because if the show runs over, I'm thinking to myself, I'm already thinking this is what's going to happen. And that is exactly what happened. She died during the show, and I watched it, and I had to close out the show. And I'll just never forget that as long as I live. The show ran over by 8 minutes, and she died during those 8 minutes. But because this is a business and it's a platform, I had to close out the show. I couldn't just leave the people there. That's the way I looked at it. So I don't know if that's psychotic or persistence or whatever it is.
No, I think it's persistence. And I'm so sorry about the loss of your mom. I'm very sorry about that.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you were, it must have been really hard to watch it and still have to be working, but I'm glad that at least you were connected in that way with her.
She was my best friend. And, I'm really grateful that I got to stay with her and take care of her. She ultimately didn't die of dementia, which, by the way, we had an amazing show on today for dementia home care. I highly recommend it. But there was another episode that came up, and I was broadcasting. I was the host of the show. I forget which show it was. And I normally have my phone available because my mom was in another room. But a friend texted me that they said they saw my mother walking along the highway. And they were very concerned because it was 80 some degrees. And we had one of those little air tags that we had in my mother's shoe, and she took it out. So she had a phone, but she couldn't really hear very well. So now I'm broadcasting, and I know my mother is wandering around aimlessly in the heat. And the person said they thought she was about 5 miles from the house. So what ended up happening, if I recall properly, I think I turned the show over to the other person. And I said, please just keep talking. I will try to close it down from my car, from when I'm driving, but I got to get out and find my mom. And I was a nervous wreck. I actually found her, and she was so happy that I did because she was exhausted. She had no water and she just lost her way. But the show host was able to carry on, and I was able to close out the show from the phone from my car. So that all worked out as well as it could. Wow.
So again, you found the solution to it, which is really inspiring. And I'm curious to know, when you've worked with so many different people as hosts of the show, people who you've mentored, people who you've taught, whether it's with the TRX or yoga or spinning, and people who you've interacted with, when you think about the quality of persistence, are there any commonalities that you see across the people who you see that quality in, regardless of how they're applying it? Are there any key features that you've noticed across people who have that quality?
I think in my experience, people have this inner drive, this curiosity, this wonder. What would that be like? What would this be like? And they're willing to take some kinds of risks. And I think they also personally, without having to get acknowledgement from anyone else, they're just driven to be more, to do more, to see more. And that's what I've seen. And I think for me, because I'm alone, I don't have a partner, I don't have any children. My mother and father passed away. I've got my sister, my brother-in-law, my nephews, and my great niece and nephew. So they live in another state. So I am typically on my own all the time. And so I can tell, even in fitness classes, I'll give an example. This one woman who's probably in her 30s, I don't know her at all. For whatever reason, she brings her phone into class and she's texting. She's lifting weights, she puts it down and she's texting. And then she puts that, and I'm thinking, it's every class. It's not like it's once in a while, it's every class. And I think to myself, it's interesting, and no judgment, but that the person would decide to come to the class and spend the time, but not be fully invested in it. And I think that's where we get off on the wrong track. That's why I'm such an advocate for elevated listening. You're completely listening to me right now. I can tell. I can see it in your face. I can see it in your eyes. You don't have something else on the screen that, you can see in Zoom. People are like looking at something else. They have glasses reflected in their glasses. And that's what I think it comes down to, is to be fully invested in what it is that you're doing at that time and giving it the best effort that you can, because that's what you're committed to at that moment. And then another thing I'll share and then turn it back to you. Someone once said to me, keep your head where your feet are. So right now I'm here with you. My feet are in this TV studio and my body and mind are here. And I'm with you, even though it's virtually. But if I start thinking about, let's see, what time is it? When's this going to be over? What am I doing after? I'm no longer with you. I'm no longer present. And that's what we do so many times, instead of making the commitment to be fully present in the moment. So I would say that people who are persistent pretty much have these qualities that I just described.
Yeah. I love that. I agree. And I think that's really a wonderful way to express it. I think you're absolutely spot on. And I'm curious. So with your elevated listening lessons and what you've learned about it, I believe you're writing a couple of new books about it, if I'm correct. And I'd love to hear, like, what are you writing about, and how has all of this experience with USA Global TV and radio, with everything else that you're involved in, how has that informed what's going into your new books?
Thank you. That's a great question. I'm just going to spotlight myself for 1 minute where I can give
Sure.
a blatant publicity for my book. So, this is Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. And this book has in it 2 quizzes. So before you read the book, you take a quiz, and then after you read the book, you take a quiz. And then it also has case studies and testimonials. It's really kind of just cut and dried. There's no, what's the word? There's no fluff in it. It's basically, here's the book, read it and get some skills from it. The new book that's coming out, I actually have a graphic since I'm producing it, is Broadcasting Brilliance, the Evolution of USA Global TV and Radio. And by the way, we just had the book cover designer put the Silver Creator Award on the cover. So I don't have the latest. I should have updated it. So I just want to give a shout out to Red O'Loughlin, because he is my book coach and my editor, and he's phenomenal. He spends so much time with me with these books. We also have the children's series, which is The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. And Lady Ella is this little ladybug, and she flies all over the world. She actually represents my great niece. And the funny thing is that Ella, that's her name, she's actually 3 now. So she doesn't look anything like this. And we have a new series that's coming out, and it's Lady Ella and Lord Jack. And Lord Jack is her brother. He's 1, and they have their kindness stories. So in these books, the animal characters are represented by real people who have taken my course. So Janetta Barry is Sicaliza, the lion. And that's in this first book. Every book, there's different characters. You have Diane Floyd Baines. She's Zell, the gazelle. So people pick their characters, and then we have the illustrator design them, and then we include them in the book. So we haven't done that for the new one, Lord Jack and Lady Ella, because it's a lot of vignettes about little situations that they find themselves in. Jack's a dragonfly, and he's got a crown, and he's got his royal outfit. And so that's the other book. And then the third book is the sequel to Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening, and it's Mastering the Power of Listening in Relationships. So it brings in different cultures, it brings in different dynamics, whether it's same-sex relationships and maybe people that don't identify with a certain gender. So all kinds of ways that we can communicate more effectively together on this earth.
Wow. Absolutely needed, very much needed, especially right now. And also, I love the idea of teaching children from a young age about the importance of listening and the benefits of that. So that will help them throughout their lives. And so that's a life-changing adventure. And do you also do retreats and classes offline for your elevated listening?
So we do, when I say we, because sometimes I've had people who are with me monitoring the class, I take it very seriously. So if I tell people this is a listening class, so we're going to be monitoring you to see if you are listening or not. So we've taught the class in London in November, the British School of Excellence. Mr. Philip Sykes, who is one of our team members here, he's become a dear friend. He brought me in to teach his Train the Trainer program. We taught, I think we taught setting boundaries and asking permissions. That was the course. And then we've also taught it, although virtually, in Zambia to master's students, thanks to Dr. Justina Matali, who is one of our team members. And she has the Dr. Justina Matali Foundation. So we taught to a big number of people. I've also myself taught it in corporate. And then I've been teaching it lately in regional libraries. And it's so funny because I didn't even know, I can't say across the board, but I didn't know that libraries actually had a budget to pay you to teach courses, which is neat. And then I recently taught it at Lifetime Fitness to the seniors. And each time I teach it, There's always something to be taken away. And what I'll say to the people who are taking the class is, if you'd like to become certified, you can do this, that, and the other, or take the tests. And, sometimes the courses are abbreviated, so they actually have to take the full course. But some people are interested. They want to get the certificate. And we people in their 80s who have gotten their certificate. And it's such a good feeling, because everyone seems to have some relationship in their life that's not working. And they always think it's the other person's problem. And then they listen in the class and they think, you can see their eye, oh my gosh, I did this, I did that, it's me. And it's just a breakthrough moment. And that's what gives me the pleasure to keep doing it.
Wow. What satisfaction. I can just only imagine how satisfying that would be. Like, it's one thing to talk to people and probably sometimes get that glazed look in their eye, but to see the light bulb go off.
Yes.
Yeah, that must be so satisfying.
I remember one person, I was teaching somewhere and only one person showed up. And the entity that was having me, that was hosting me, they said, I'm so sorry, what do you want to do? I said, listen, the person showed up, I'm teaching the class. And it turned out that this person was going through a very hard time in their life, and they hadn't talked to anyone about it. So I started doing my presentation, and I could see she wasn't really looking at it. So I went and sat down next to her, and I said, do you want to see these slides? She said, not really. So I turned them off. I said, tell me what's going on. And she just told me about this situation in her life with her daughter, and that she was really just dying inside. She had so much pain, and that she wanted to change her. And so when we got into it, I said, what is it about the situation that you feel you're responsible for changing? She said, well, I'm her mother. And so then we got into that a little more. And so I asked more probing questions. And by the end, she was crying. And she was like, this is amazing. It's a breakthrough. I said, well, I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who is here to listen. So that just gave me joy, even though it was one person.
Yes. That's what time very well spent. It probably changed her life and her daughter's life,
Yes.
So,
yes.
Well, our time has gone so quickly today, and I feel like I could just talk with you for another hour or two at least. And
definitely.
But before we close out, I would love for you to tell people how they can connect with you, both for the USA Global TV and Radio Network. How do they find your books, and how can they get in touch with you as the listening mentor?
Thank you very much. I will spotlight myself and quickly bring up our websites. So the best way to reach out, if you're interested in being a guest on one of our TV shows, or you're interested in hosting your own show, or you want to be a sponsor, go over to usaglobaltv.com. You can also go to usaglobaltvandradio.com. And then you can go here and you can go to book your session. And what I just want to say about this right now, because people have reached out to me, when you scroll down here, you're going to see appointments, and people have been contacting me. My show's going, where's my show? We have 2 appointments. These are special one-off shows, but everything else is under classes and events. So just go to classes and events and scroll down and find the show that you want to be on. And then the host will contact you. Kimberly, can you just address, because you, like some of our other team members, you actually invite the guests. So how do you feel about guests? Just let people know why I look for this other thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I am totally open to new guests, and anyone is welcome to reach out to me. I can be found on the ringthing.com or by email at kimberly@ringthing.com. And please reach out to me, and I would love to have you on. Yeah, I'm very, very open and across different topics, because I believe that one of the things about persistence is that it crosses all lines. So, so far on the show, we've talked with professional athletes, with academics, with book authors, with Dr. Jacalyn, the founder of a radio and TV network. And upcoming, we have a professional bodybuilder coming up. And so just land investors. So really the quality of persistence, part of the beauty of learning about it, is that it does cross all areas and all genres. So I would love to talk with people about their own experience and, what have been some of the ups and downs that they have encountered on that journey.
Fantastic.
So,
Thank
very
you very
open
much.
to that.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I'm just going to show a couple of other websites, and then we will say adieu for now. So the other website, if you're interested in coaching from me, I do life, career, executive coaching, and I do interview coaching. And you can go over to drjacalyn.com, and we actually have a whole section here for what you need to do to get certified. We have people who've been certified. We've got their headshots. We've got their certificates. Joan is our newest person who became certified. And we also have 2 other websites that I'll bring up. And people might not even be aware of these. One of them is the elevatedlisteners.com. So this is for elevated listeners who have decided that they want a little more exposure, if you will. So we have people here who are our VIP elevated listeners. And wow, look at that picture. That really needs to be changed. We've got Red and Philip and Caroline. So this is a website where you can learn more about these people who are elevated listeners. And then finally, we have one last website, which is the amazing adventures of Lady Ella. And so this is where all the books reside. And all of these websites are tied together off usaglobaltv.com. I do all of the websites myself, and I have them all tied back together. So that you only have to go to one place to find out all these things. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's great. And I love Lady Ella. I think that's a great, what a wonderful character. Well,
Thank you.
Dr. Jacalyn, thank you so much for being here today and for making the time. I'm so grateful. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and how inspired I am by you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. The feeling is mutual. Thank you for being here. And thank you for doing your outstanding job in hosting shows and being an elevated listener. And I really appreciate what you're doing. You've brought some amazing people to the platform, and I wish you continued success.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I end every show with a quote about persistence, and it happens pretty much every show where I pick the quote ahead of time, not knowing what the discussion will be. And it turns out that the quote fits perfectly with the discussion. And so today, the quote is from Sadie Tanner Mosel Alexander. And she said, "Don't let anything stop you. There will be times when you'll be disappointed, but you can't stop. Make yourself the best that you can make out of what you are, the very best." And I think that Dr. Jacalyn exemplifies all of those qualities, and she certainly is the very best at what she does. So I'm most grateful. I'm available. I can be reached through the website and also by email. The website is ringthing.com. I also have an active Instagram page for the Ring Thing. It's at ring_thing. And I'm available by email at kimberly@ringthing.com. And if you go to the website, which is up on the screen now, it has both the email address and also a link to the Instagram page. So I'd love to hear any feedback or also from anyone who's interested in being on the show. So thank you so much. We will be back in 2 weeks, and I look forward to talking with you then. Take care.
Ever dreamed of hosting your own TV show, sharing your story with a global audience? Now's your chance to shine. At USA Global TV and Radio, we make it easy for you to create, host, and broadcast your very own TV show. Whether you're a storyteller, entrepreneur, or industry expert, we help you bring your vision to life. With our exclusive interview, live streaming, and podcasting training, you'll gain the skills and confidence to captivate your audience. Our global platform ensures your voice is heard worldwide. Join our community of creators who are already making an impact, one show at a time. Step into the spotlight. Host your own TV show on USA Global TV and Radio. Book your discovery call today at usaglobaltv.com. Copyright 2025 USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. To learn more, visit usaglobaltv.com. Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for. dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions, designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacalyn.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.